The following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all nerds! International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both a player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me always is my friend and co-host, Chris. Chris Holmes, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I am doing really good today. Been gaming this past week. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of Genesys, but that's a bummer. But yeah,
my gaming has been a drought lately due to external affairs here with my house hunting, and then, of course, a couple of my games getting canceled for real-life events.
That happens. So, what are we talking about tonight? What's our episode title?
I think I called it It's Alive! A Guide to Character Creation.
That is right. We are going to be talking character creation tonight. So let me see here. So let's get into some news. Really, the only news I think we have to report Genesys-wise since last time is Tiernoth is on the boat.
Oh, I'm so ready to run that setting, dude.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be pretty fun. And it's, I don't know. So that probably means, 6 weeks? Hopefully the end of next month. I'm hoping. But don't quote me on that. I do not work for FFG, so. But I'm hoping.
On the boat's kind of like Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Something like that. You're right. Yeah, it kind of
6 more weeks of drought until we get a new book.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, man, I am looking forward to that book. And they have a couple of things that they're putting in that we didn't really mention last time that I remembered was, what are these freaking heroic actions? I want to know.
I know. I'm curious. I can't wait.
And there's also mounted combat as well that they're adding in there. Now, if it's anything like the Star Wars game, it's gonna move. It's gonna be just fine rolling in because they basically use the vehicle rules.
Yep, except for you're riding on a monster or on a dragon
riding.
Or on a horse or whatever.
Exactly, or a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's another day.
I'll do that in your Thule setting, buddy.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so yeah, that's about all the news that I've got. I don't know if there was anything else.
Nope, there's nothing really. It's been kind of dry lately.
All right, so next would be listener feedback. What do we got, man?
Well, we got a couple questions I chose for today's show. We got a few more, but I've been just kind of picking them to keep it one or two at a time. So Let's start first. We got some feedback from our friend Scott W. He sent this via email, and it said, so far, it's a great show, despite Jamie. I think he was listening to the last episode.
Yep.
You guys blew my mind with the psionics as a race from the book. I'm using that to clean up my Eberron adaptation of Kalishtar. Too easy. Keep it up. So
yeah, I think Scott ran us. That's my only session that I played in Genesys. I think Scott ran Jamie, Matt Stark, and I in a small little one-shot adventure. And dude, if you've never played Eberron from, I think it was like 3.5. It was a 3.5 setting.
Yeah.
Oh, it rocked. Ooh, we got a nice burp there. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Eberron was one of my favorite D&D settings. I love the different races with the way that each race had their own tattoo power thing, whatever it was. It was the dragon marks.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you have the Warforged, which were awesome, and my favorite race, the Shifters,
Shifters.
The descendants of were creatures.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, thanks, thanks, Scott, for sending that in.
Yes, thank you, buddy. And then also from Now, I had to consult with my resident favorite French Canadian, Stefan Dragonspawn, on how to pronounce this name so I wouldn't butcher it.
Oh, good, because I thought you were going to have me read it, and I'm not going
to. French is the worst thing for me to pronounce. So his name is Laurent Bourgal, and that's about as good as it gets, buddy.
Me as an American, I probably would have said Laurent Bourgault. Hard T's.
T's are silent. But anyhow, Laurent sends us this over from Facebook. And it says, hello, group. I am planning to run a Arkham horror game using Genesys. I have some questions. Maybe you can help me. Now, he split this into 3 parts, so I figured we would read each one and then kind of answer them with our own little answers.
I do remember this one. And if we read all of the questions and then go back, it makes a little more sense. It helped.
Okay. Okay.
So,
all right. So I'll start with the first one.
Yeah. Read the first one, bud.
Okay. So part 1 here is I was wondering which skill you would recommend using when characters are searching for clues, information in a library or in newspaper archives.
Okay. And in the second part, he said, knowing the occult mythos lore is specific, I was thinking of inventing this skill instead of using the generic knowledge skill. Do you have any thoughts? And the last one. Go ahead.
And then the third part, there is no demolition skill in the rulebook. How could I have characters check to make explosives, plant them, arm or disarm a bomb?
Cool.
These are the ones that come to mind for me now. Thanks a bunch. Keep up the good work with the podcast, and I'll keep listening.
Cool. So if we don't keep up the good work, he won't be listening?
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, we're going to keep it going then. We're going to keep up the good work then. All right, so that first one, which one would we recommend for gathering information from a library newspaper? For me, I would say use the knowledge skill. But since that's why I wanted us to read the other one, because he was thinking of inventing a new skill. And if you're going to do that, then you could potentially add an investigation skill or a research skill, or maybe even a general, like a knowledge research or knowledge education for that as well.
Yeah, and all those work. Now, for me, it was you could just use perception if you wanted to for searching for clues, for actively searching for them in a library setting or something like that, or even knowledge. Knowledge would work. Both work. For passive,
I would even use vigilance.
Yep, and that's what I was saying for passive clues, you're investigating a crime scene. Mm-hmm. Or you walk into somewhere where someone was doing research of their own already to pick up clues and things like that. Vigilance works fine as far as a passive.
Mm-hmm. But the way that I see those two skills, perception and vigilance, I can't remember where I read this, but it was a pretty good explanation where perception is seeing the details of those things that are out there that you've kind of noticed, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Picking out those details. But vigilance are picking up things that you haven't seen that come into the scene. So that's why when you're not prepared, you would use vigilance for like your initiative checks to be surprised. So just seeing a clue off in the corner, you could totally use either one of those. And I think you'd be all right, to be honest.
Yep. Okay, and so in the second part of that, obviously, that's kind of all intermingled. You can make your own knowledge skills. Just as a suggestion, keep it to 3 to 5, not many more than that. You don't need to spread knowledge out. You can have like knowledge education, and in this case, like a knowledge occult.
Yep.
Maybe a knowledge mythos specifically, even, and then like 1 or 2 other knowledges, and that will be fine. That'll do the job that you need it to do, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of investigation.
Yeah, and you can even look at what they've done. I played Trail of Cthulhu a couple weeks ago, my first Cthulhu game ever, which amazingly it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun, and they have a lot of different investigation skills, and I don't know, whatever the GM has in mind for a campaign setting, you can create skills that are kind of tailored to what you kind of want your players to use and investigate. Like there was like a cop talk, which was one, so that they know what the 1099 is, or well, actually 1099, that's tax season. So that's all right. There's something now, but anyways, yeah.
Okay, and then I have one last note here that I sent to him myself, and that is another way to gather clues in like a crime scene environment is with Streetwise.
Ooh.
So you can keep that in mind also. Now, and then his final question about the explosives.
Oh, actually, one go back there on that second one. You know what I thought of? Is I thought of maybe you can use skullduggery to... if you wanted to get a clue and pick and pocket a clue without anybody seeing it, like if you're on a police there or whatever, you can maybe use skullduggery to kind of, sleight of hand it, if you will?
Yes.
That too, if you wanted. So, all right, yeah,
Yep.
So part 3, demolition.
So that's pretty easy. That's the easiest of all these questions to answer.
Yeah, it was. Because we played Star Wars.
Yeah, and in Star Wars, demolitions of all kinds, whether you're setting an explosive or disarming a bomb or planting them, it's simple as a mechanics check.
Yep. And I think they had that in No Disintegrations, was it? No, that's the Bounty Hunter book. No, I think it was or was it the Hired Gun book that they had?
I think it's in the Hired Gun book, but yeah, because that's the one that added the demolitionist.
Yep.
And then also, if you have, for a note on this, if you have other types of traps you want to set, say you're more in a fantasy setting and you want to set traps or disarm traps, then you'll revert back to skullduggery.
Yep, skullduggery. Now, would you use, so talking traps, I know this is getting a little off topic, would you use, so say I'm a ranger, would you allow me to use survival if I want to do like dead traps, or what are those, traps?
A snare?
Snares, yeah, snares and pits.
Most assuredly, I would. As your GM, I would encourage you to.
Sweet. All right. Yeah.
So that pretty much answers all of Laurent's questions. And this time he sent me a couple more that I got to share with you yet, Chris.
Nice.
Anyhow, that pretty much covers the feedback. We've heard a lot coming from people out there that are listening and liking what we're doing, and we're hoping to continue to make you all happy and do more of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you guys have any ideas for show ideas, we have some of our own ideas, but if we're getting a lot of suggestions to do one specific thing or a couple different things, we'll definitely move that out. I have no idea what we're doing next, but it is what it is.
We'll figure that out as we go.
Absolutely. All right, so then going to the next part then, right?
All right, let's head on over there.
All right, everybody, we are now going to open up the Book of Genesis. And now we're going to talk through character creation. So we're going to go through these steps, which start on page, let's see here. Starts
32.
On page 32. Yippers. All right. First thing is concept and background. So your character concept, your character background. So obviously this is going to vary as to whatever setting you're playing. You might or might not want to play a dwarf warrior in a modern spy setting, though that'd be kind of neat if you wanted to. But
then you're playing Shadowrun.
Then you're playing Shadowrun or Bright, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, kick-ass movie on Netflix. If you guys haven't seen it yet, that was pretty cool. So you just come up with a concept. There are nice suggestions in here for like your questions, like what inspired them to leave their life and become an adventurer. I've always asked myself, or I have been in the last few years, is I heard this on a podcast somewhere. Ask your character, so like, what do they love? What do they hate? And why are you here? You ask these questions, you can kind of flesh out your character a little bit. But yeah, just your basic, concept. Do you want to be a ranged character? Do you want to be a talky, fast talking smuggler or whatever. There, so.
And this is just a quick outline of your character. This isn't something you're not going to do 6 pages of backstory. You don't need to do that.
No. You can, but your DM might put the kibosh down on it. No, actually, I always I like to write a bit of a background for my characters and just pull things in so the DM can, DM or GM, can like pull that out and mess with me. Give them a little bit of a fodder for me if you'd like.
Right. But as a GM, I prefer people do, and I usually do for mine, a paragraph or 2 at best. You don't need much.
All right, I'll remember that, Tony. I'll be sending you 3 pages on what is it? My Deveronian slicer here soon.
Nope, you'll get a TLDR, buddy. Too long, didn't read.
Nice. All right, go ahead. So what next after we've got our concepts, Tony? What do we do next?
So we're choosing our species or race. So if you're playing in a humans-only setting, you're going to choose your archetype also.
Yep.
If you're playing in a space opera, then you'll have alien races to choose from. If you're playing in fantasy, you'll obviously have fantasy races to choose from. Mm-hmm. And that will give you your racial stat block. Each one of those, whether it's your archetype or your race, gives you all your beginning characteristics. It gives you your starting wound threshold, your starting strain, your starting XP, and 1 to 2, usually no more than 3 special abilities usually.
Right.
If you have more than 3, you usually have hardly any XP to spend.
Yeah, I mean, typically one of them is like maybe a bonus skill or a bonus to a skill, and then a couple other abilities or like once per session abilities or something.
Yeah, and that's particular to the Genesys core book. The archetypes each have their own cool way of spending story points.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like some of these. Like the what was this archetype I'm looking at? The aristocrat, forceful personality. Once per session, you could spend a story point as an incidental. And when you do during your next skill check, you can you double the strain you inflict or the strain you heal on your next skill check.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And that's a once per session thing. So
right now, if I'm playing in a fantasy campaign where we have dwarves and we have elves and we have a bunch of other fantasy races, do I need to look beyond the basic human?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, you should. Your GM or DM. And your GM, Jamie, if you're listening to this, bastard.
You got Chris questioning himself all the time now. It's great.
Exactly. They do have in their what do you call it? Their fantasy setting here. Mm-hmm. They do have dwarves, an elf, an orc, if you will, and then your GM, if they've created their setting, they would have their own races for something along those lines too. To do.
Okay. All right. Well, after I've chosen my race and I know what kind of grubby little ugly guy I am, what do I do here with what's next?
Well, you got to decide what you're going to do. What do you do? How are you connected to this world in a sense what is your career? What's your specialty? And really what your careers in Genesys give you is basically an archetype, if you will, for like an entertainer, a soldier, a scoundrel. But what it also gives you is it gives you career skills that you're allowed to choose. So there's 8 career skills on your from the skill list that are considered career skills. So those will be cheaper to increase when you want to put more experience points in it when you're spending your experience points. And then at character creation, of the 8, you get to pick 4 of them that start with 1 rank. And maybe your species or race might give you 1 rank already in a skill. So it's okay to have the 2 ranks, but no more than 2 ranks to start with. So, for instance, if I'm looking at the scoundrel here, they get charm, cool, coordination, deception, ranged, skullduggery, stealth, and streetwise, and I get to choose 4 of those. So I'd probably maybe pick if I'm doing like say a cat burglar. I'd probably want to do stealth, skullduggery, to kind of break into the place. Might want to do streetwise to maybe get an idea of where the next job might be, and might be some deception to kind of no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be cleaning this nice, beautiful looking statuette, golden statue, before I put it in my backpack and leave. So,
okay. So there's also little notes in each one of these little careers where they have, if you're doing something specific to a setting. So for instance, let's look at that scoundrel,
sure.
On page 41, and at the bottom it says if you're playing where this skill is available, switch ranged with ranged light. To represent the scoundrel's preference for pistols and thrown weapons. So that's just saying if you're using this in a modern setting where you have range light, range heavy, gunnery type, it's all spread out. It all depends on the setting. It all depends on your GM. Make sure also, there is nothing wrong with the GM coming along and saying, you know what, I don't think this skill fits in this career. You can take it out, put the new skill in as a GM and create your own careers. This is a guidebook for GMs and players alike, and together you kind of gotta tweak the characters to your individual taste.
Right. Yeah, and as a GM, I like to listen to my players in that regard. When I'm around the table and I hear them make comments, maybe to themselves, it gives me ideas for things, and having that dialogue back and forth and allowing them to create the character they want to create. It's all about having fun. So,
right.
If they're going to have more fun doing that, hey, more power to them. That's what it's all about.
Right. And like I was saying with the scoundrel, for instance, okay, you said cat burglar, and I was deciding to make a cat burglar, and I looked at that skill list, and I really just didn't think charm fit on there, and instead I wanted acrobatics, and instead I would totally, as a GM, acrobatics is not a skill in Genesys anymore.
Oh, you know what? It's coordination.
It's all coordination now, isn't it?
All coordination. But you know what? I might want melee.
What I was thinking.
Like
I'm sorry.
Or
I know what I was thinking. I'm sorry.
What are you thinking?
Let me strike that and reverse it. I was thinking acrobatics, but athletics.
Athletics. Oh, gotcha. Yep. To climb, use your climbing gear and such. And I totally allow it too. Yep. Totally makes sense.
Sorry, I was playing D&D 5e earlier today, and for some reason I have those skills in my head.
Yeah, man, I played the other night too. So, so many systems, so little time.
Yeah.
All right, so once we have our concept, our species, we picked our species, our race, and our careers, and we've selected some skills, what's next? What do we do next, Tony?
Well, then you invest your XP.
All right.
So you have a little chart here on page 45.
Right.
It's table 1.2-1, spending starting experience.
Yep, which you get from your species or race.
Mm-hmm. And it tells you what you can spend your XP on, and basically you can spend it on your characteristics, and this is the only time you can spend XP on your characteristics.
Right.
That's the brawn, agility, intellect, cunning, willpower, and presence.
Yep.
And those are going to be 10 times. XP spent will be 10 times the purchased rating. So if you're moving from a 2 to a 3, it's going to cost you 30 of your beginning XP to change that stat. And then if you were going to change that same stat from a 3 to a 4, that would cost you another 40 XP.
So to go from 2 to 4, it's 70 XP.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, if I had enough, would I be able to go up to, could I raise a stat to 6?
Nope. There's a hard cap. You cannot raise your characteristics above rank 5 at character creation.
Yep.
And
that's a lot of
likewise.
That's a lot of XP. Yeah. Anyway.
You'd have to have a race that started with a 4, I think, and had a lot of XP.
That's right.
Also, then you can spend experience to purchase ranks and skills. Mm-hmm. Now, there's 2 ways to do that. If it's a career skill, it's going to be 5 times the desired rank. So if you don't have any ranks in it, it's going to cost you 5 for that first rank. If you have 1 rank in it, you can pay 10 for that second rank. Mm-hmm. But there is a hard cap, and that is at character creation. You may not raise a skill above 2.
Yep.
And
what if I wanted to pick a skill that wasn't on my career list? Like, say that scoundrel that we were thinking of, I wanted to pick something like I don't know, medicine.
Well, that skill for you is going to be each rank in the non-career skill costs an additional 5. So you would just calculate it like you would a normal. If you're buying first rank in it, it's normally 5, and then add 5. If you're buying the second rank in it, it's 10 and add 5, so a total of 15.
15, gotcha. Okay, cool.
And then the third and final way to spend your starting XP is talents. Talents are what make each character unique and individual, because no 2 characters are going to choose the same list of talents.
That's true.
You can make 2 scoundrels, both you and I guarantee both of us are going to choose a different set of talents.
That is true, assuming we have experience points left.
Yep. And that is the main steps. Mm-hmm. Then there's a couple of little fleshing out steps.
Well,
what's next?
The one thing about talents, one more. So those cost 5 experience points times the tier of the talent. So, like, if you want to buy a tier 1 talent, it costs 5 experience points. In order to buy a second tier talent, first off, you have to have 2 tier 1 talents before you pick a tier 2 talent. But that's actually enough for another show, to be honest. We do a whole show on talents, most definitely.
I think we will eventually have a talent show.
Yes, we'll. Oh, yeah.
Maybe invite a couple extra people on and see how talented they are.
Exactly. Yeah, so you were saying, so the next step, there are these derived attributes, and we have 4 of them. One is your wound threshold, one is your strain threshold, then your defense, and then your soak value. Now, your wound threshold is based on your race. So if we go back up to these these archetypes, let's go to a human archetype. I'm looking at the average human. They have a starting wound threshold of 10 plus your brawn characteristic. Now, this is after if you say you've bumped up your brawn to a 3, which it should be at this point. In this case, his wound threshold would be a 13. Strain threshold, same thing. For a human, this average human is 10 plus their willpower, which is a 2 in this case, so that'll be 12. And then your defense would come in. You might have a special racial ability that'll give you a defense, or maybe you've selected a talent that raises your defense score, your range defense or a melee defense by 1. And then you would calculate that here. And then your soak value is going to be equal to your brawn at this point. And then as you choose your gear, your armor is going to add soak values as well. So you'll come back, you'll probably iterate on soak a couple times during this. So
okay. And what happens if later on when I say XP up my brawn? Does my
XP up your brawn, it will not increase your wound threshold, this was something that I had asked. There was a question I raised on the RPG Brewery to Sam Stewart when he was on there, and it does not.
But it will increase your soak.
It does increase your soak.
Okay.
And the same thing for your strain threshold. If you increase your willpower, your strain does not increase. If you wanted to increase your wound threshold or strain threshold after character creation with experience points, you have to do it through talents. I think there's a grit talent that adds to your strain, and I think toughened adds to your wounds or something.
And as I had said earlier, this is spending your beginning XP is the only way you can spend XP directly on your characteristics. There is a talent. It's a 5th tier talent that you can take that will one-time increase to 1 stat.
Yep.
And that is dedication. Mm-hmm. And one characteristic. So there is a way to raise them after character creation, but it's only one time.
Yep. Absolutely. I've got a workable character here, just about.
All right.
I don't really have much of a, but I don't know. What's our next thing that we need to do?
Well, the next thing is you're going to determine your motivations.
Oh, I like that a lot, actually.
Yes. Motivation in the old Star Wars system used to just be a kind of a single sentence about your character. Mm-hmm. Now they've split it into 4 parts.
Yeah.
You have your character's desires, your character's strengths or fears. Excuse me. Their mm-hmm. fears, their strengths, and their flaws. Mm-hmm. And now, you can roll for them. There are tables for these. For desires, there's a table on page 47. Mm-hmm. For fears, 48. Strengths, 49. And flaws are on 50. You can roll for these, or you can choose one, or you can, with the help of your GM, make one of your own.
Absolutely. Yeah, these are pretty fun.
Yeah,
I like these. I like these a lot. I mean, like for desire, vengeance. Someone or something has wronged your character in the past. The character is sworn to act revenge against the aggravating party. Sweet.
Oh yeah. Yep. There's then, and in each section, they have a good description, but you'll want to flesh that out to make it personal to your character. Yep. And we'll do that when we do our example characters that we're going to do in a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so and we'll get more in depth in those choices that I made for mine and yours. I think we should go on to the last section. What's that?
Okay, well, the last thing you do, you've got your character. Now you got to outfit them. You got to buy your gear. And right now, I think in the Genesys core book, it is 500 currency. Whatever that might be. It might be gold pieces. It might be silver pennies. It might be credits. Might be
bottle caps.
Oh yeah, from Fallout. Nice. Or pieces of 8. Whatever you want your currency to be. There's 500 quote unquote units to spend on your gear.
Okay.
For that, and then you like anything else, you pick your appearance, what they look like, whether they're that dark cloak wearing person that's sitting in the corner of the tavern like everybody starts with when they're young, right? I know I did.
I don't know. I always went with the flashy wizards, but that's just me.
There you go. Well, I always went with the dwarves too, so. And then their personality as well. And this is kind of where I ask those 3 questions like I asked earlier. What do you love? What do you hate? And why are you here? And with going through these things that they've suggested in here, you pretty much got a character, man, that's ready to go.
Awesome. So you want to make a character, buddy?
Dude, I can't wait to make this character.
So Chris and I have chosen to do a bit of a character concept building challenge to each other or whatever. We just really wanted to build a character for you guys to hear and see. Now, for Chris's character, happens to be, if you don't mind, buddy, I'll explain a little bit.
Feel free.
So over on the RPG Brewery podcast, on YouTube now and Twitch. Jamie Pearson ran you guys through Pathfinder's Rise of the Rune Lords.
Yep.
You did a 13-session live play?
Took 13 sessions, about 2-3 hours each, to go through book 1, and then we did a review show afterwards.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. And during that, you played this crazy, well, not really crazy, but is kind of a fun-loving guy, a dwarf by the name of Yuri Warhelm.
Hello, this is Yuri Warhelm. I am here. What is this Genesys thing called again? Yuri, shut up. I'm gonna make you. You're not created yet. You're not alive yet. So I'm gonna go through. He was a dwarf. Warrior, ex-professional soldier, he would tell you, that loved life, wanted fame, fortune. He was a pipe maker, and go over there, watch those live plays.
So
learn a little more about him. But I like your choice, dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Tony's choice here, one of the most iconic, kick-ass female sci-fi personalities ever, Ellen Ripley. Now, my question to you is this Alien Ripley? Is this Aliens Ripley? Is this resurrection or whatever?
Well, it's definitely not Resurrection Ripley. I made a base character. So just like you're going to do with Yuri, what you would do is you would build the base character, and then you would, if your GM gives you extra XP to spend, you would then XP up. So if I was making her for Aliens, she'd have a couple sessions worth of XP because she did already go through one whole movie.
Absolutely. And when we might want to do that. Maybe we give these two characters like 50 starting XP after we make like the starting character. Then we'll level them up, if you will. Well, not really level them up, or we will advance them.
XP them up, buddy.
Yeah. So you know what? I think we're pretty much done with step 1, man. We have our concepts already.
Yep.
We are done.
Oh yeah.
So let me see. So step 2 here. I've got Yuri is a dwarf. So I'm going to go see what they do here in since Jamie hasn't converted Pathfinder yet over to Genesys. Come on, Jamie. You need to send out that document. No, I know he's not doing that yet. So we're taking the Tyranoth dwarf that has a brawn of 2 and agility of 1.
Hang on, buddy. Just so people can follow along with us, that dwarf is found on page 142.
Yes. Good call there, Tony. Good call. So, he's a typical fantasy dwarf. Tough. Eager to fight. Loves to drink. And in this case, Yuri, he likes to smoke his pipe, too. So he's got a brawn of 2, an agility of 1, intellect of 2, cunning of 2, willpower of 3, and a presence of 2. He's going to have a starting wound threshold of 11 plus his brawn, strength threshold 10 plus willpower. He's going to start with 90 XP, which it's lower than a human because dwarves get a couple extra things. He will start off with a rank in resilience. And when he has dark vision, so he'll be removing 2 setback die whenever he makes checks due to darkness. So if he's shooting a bow, if he is trying to go through a dark dungeon or something like that, and Tony here or Jamie when we're playing throws some setback die because of darkness, I'll be able to take those away. And then tough as nails once per session. I could spend a story point, and immediately after suffering a critical, I could say, nope, I'm going to count that result as a 0-1. So that could be actually a lifesaver, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is my species. That was my step 2, man.
All right, so, well, I went to look at the human archetypes because, well, she's a human.
Yep.
And I gave them all a good look over. And I almost went towards the laborer, but I really think that she just started out as an average gal. So I went to the average human, the archetype number 1.
That's cool.
So that is found on page 36. She has 2 in all of her primary characteristics. She has a starting wound threshold of 10 plus brawn, starting strain of 10 plus willpower, starting XP of 110.
Ooh, more than me.
And then she has 2 special abilities here. The average human starts with 1 rank in each of 2 different non-career skills at character creation. Now that choice is, you can make it now when you're choosing your race, or you can choose after you've chosen your career, so you want to round your character a little more. Mm-hmm. So when I choose her career, I'll tell you what those 2 skills are.
Sounds good to me.
So, and then the last thing is average humans have the Ready for Anything talent. Once per session, as an out-of-turn incidental, you may move 1 story point from the Game Master's pool to the player's pool.
Dude, that's cool. Especially if you've run out.
Yeah.
Which you probably never should, but still, you know.
It happens
cool.
now and again.
Story points. Yeah, that's cool, man. Dude, I like that.
So, yeah, I went with the average human for her.
All right. Excellent. All right, so let's go with the careers. Let's go do the careers here. So for Yuri, it's going to be pretty simple. He's a soldier. That's all there is to it. I don't think there's anything. He's not a knight. He's a soldier. It's through and through, man. Through and through.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he is. So let's see. So he is, let's see. We're going to do that. Oops. Yeah, so then he's got, okay, so soldiers, they start with athletics, brawl, coercion, melee, perception, ranged, survival, and vigilance. So because we are doing he's in a fantasy setting, pretty sure we're going to have melee, light, and heavy. Now I know he's going to be using a dwarven war axe. And he can use that either 1 or 2-hander. So I would probably ask my GM at that point whether I would want to pick up a melee heavy skill. I'd probably want to go with melee heavy and say that even though, you know, it's a dwarven war axe, I can use it with 1 hand, but when I'm using it with 2 hands, I'm using basically the same skill. I don't know. What do you think there?
Well, if I was, I don't know. I would go with melee heavy for the dwarven war axe, even if you were using it one-handed.
I would definitely put a cumbersome 3 probably on that axe, though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of cool. So that would be 1 skill. I would go melee heavy. Now I know that Yuri had left home. He was in the military, left the military, and went across the lands of Gorolanthia. So I'm picking survival as well.
Okay.
And
this is the 4 career skills you're putting your points in?
These are the 4 I'm going to be putting my points in. So I'm going to
so melee heavy is 1, and then survival was the second one? Okay.
Yep. Melee heavy is survival is the second one. I'm thinking that he is... He's not a very... He's very vigilant. I like vigilance a lot for him.
Okay.
He can notice things, not extremely perceptive, but very vigilant. He's one of those guys that he would stand on watch, and he would just be out there, just ready to protect. Now,
Gotcha.
These others, athletics, brawl, and coercion, he's done some crazy friggin' maneuvers in that game, running and jumping, and which we'll get into later, too.
It's a pretty active fella.
He's a pretty active fella. So you know what? I'm going with athletics. That'd be his fourth. That'd be his 4th. What do you got for Ripley there, dude?
Well, yeah, I had really one of 2 choices here. Now,
what are you thinking?
While she was the pilot of the Nostromo.
Yes, she was.
Really, though, the class I'm going to take is Starship Captain. Because she was 3rd in command, and so in this case, Starship Captain is going to give me computers, discipline, gunnery, knowledge, leadership, mechanics, operating, and perception. And the reason why I chose this one is because of that operating skill. The Nostromo is a big ship, and operating is for big ships. Piloting would be more like your drop ships and things like that. And that led me to my first choice for one of my human skills for Ripley. One of the free ones that I get is that Ripley is the pilot, so she is going to go ahead and cross over into piloting so she can pilot the drop ship to and from the planet. And then there's a note down here in the Starship Captain that, as with fighter pilots, when you play a Starship Captain, you may want to change knowledge for astrocartography. And so I did that because this is a space opera and type setting, very futuristic. And I believe
the astrocartography is definitely a very appropriate skill for that setting, for the alien setting, most definitely.
Yeah. So I did that, and then for my second human class skill, I find Ripley is the kind of character who gets her way through force of will more than just leadership.
Okay.
So I took coercion.
Nice. Yeah, she gets crabby.
She's not much of a I step up and am the leader kind where she leads people with her presence. It's more along the lines of, you're going to do what the hell I want or I'm going to beat your ass.
Or we better do this now, or these aliens are going to rip us apart.
Exactly. She's used to yelling at people to get her way. So I took coercion.
Yeah, sweet.
And so then to round out my skills that I took for my career skills, I put 1 point in perception because she's a pretty perceptive gal. In the movies you see, she's almost always one of the first ones to notice when something's going wrong.
Yep.
I put a point in operating because, again, she's the pilot. So piloting both the Nostromo and the dropship, she now can do both. Okay. I put a point in discipline because she does not have much of a problem with fear.
Yeah, I'm with you there, dude. That's a good choice.
Now, I could have done, for my last one, I could have done astrocartography, I could have done computers, but I think in the way she kind of uses her abilities around the ship, knowing the destruct sequence and the way she's the one who kind of works with the two mechanics to get them motivated to do their job, she has a rank in mechanics.
Yep. Yeah, I see that. Definitely.
So those are my 4 beginning skills.
Nice. All right, then let's go on to the next step, which is spending our experience points. Me here, I'm going to be fairly boring on this because I'm going to put 20 experience points to get that agility to a 2. Because, like it or not, this dwarf, he is more agile than most dwarves.
Okay.
He is also stronger than most dwarves, so I'm going to bump his brawn up to a 3 for 30 more XP.
Okay.
But he's really strong. I'm going to bump that up to a 4. He's got a brawn of 4. So that is 70 to move my brawn from 20 to 2 to a 4. And then 20 more to put my agility from a 1 to a 2, which is all 90 starting XP for me.
Okay. Well, that was too easy, dude.
That wasn't too easy. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Well, let's see. For Ripley here, she's a pilot, so piloting and operating both fall under 2 different skills here, agility and intellect. So since those are going to be her 2 primary things, I went ahead and spent to raise agility from a 2 to a 3. I spent 30 XP there. Okay. To raise intellect from a 2 to a 3, I spent 30 there. And then, you know what? I still like rolling for coercion and discipline, both of which are skills she uses a lot. Those are willpower based, and I'm pretty sure in a horror setting we're going to be getting a lot of strain and a lot of fear checks. So I am going to go ahead and spend 30 more XP to raise my willpower to 3. Nice. So and that leaves me with a grand total of 20 XP to spend on other things. Ooh. So I'm happy with my skills at the point of character creation, so I went ahead and bought some talents.
Ooh, let me hear, man. Let me hear. What do you got?
So I started out, again, she's a horror setting character, so I immediately put 5 XP in one rank, the first tier of grit. Crank up that strain.
Increases your strain by 1. Yep, nice.
Yep. And then she's also a pilot here and good at it. So I went ahead and put 1 rank in knack for it and chose the piloting skill, in which that gives her the ability to remove a setback die per rank in that talent. So she can remove 1 setback die for atmospheric conditions, like trying to land a ship in the middle of a storm kind of thing.
It's knack for it, right?
Knack for it, yeah.
So it says when you purchase it, you select a skill. You remove 2 setback from any
2.
checks
That's right.
with that skill. Oh, every time you purchase a talent, you select 2 additional skills.
Oh, does it come with 2?
No, the first time you select it, it's 1 skill. And you remove 2 setback die from any checks using that skill.
Oh, gosh.
Then each additional time you purchase it, you select 2 additional skills. What? Your character also removes 2 setback from any checks made using those skills. Cannot select combat or magic skills using this talent. That is sweet. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And then for her third, that's 5. She spent 5 XP on that, the first rank in knack for it.
So we got 10 XP left.
Yep. And I wanted, you know what? She's really quick with the retorts when people are snapping at her. So I took clever retort, which is once per encounter, your character may use this talent to add automatic 2 threat to another character's social check.
Oh, that's sweet, dude.
And then that was 5 XP. And then the last one, I went ahead and bought the first rank in toughened because she's a tough gal.
I like that. That is pretty cool, man.
And I want her to be that well-rounded heroine we all know from the films. So I kind of spread it all out there amongst a bunch of talents, but for the reason of I can start buying those higher tier talents sooner.
Yep. Well, you know what? So you bought the first 2 talents. You had two tier 1 talents there.
Mm-hmm. I could have bought a 3rd tier.
You could have bought a tier 2 talent, which would cost you 10 more XP. And I'd probably suggest Scathing Tirade.
Yeah, either that
I could totally see her doing that. And you picked Coercion for her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I could have done that, but I kind of wanted the toughness too. I could do that again in the future with my XP.
Exactly. Man, there's so much to choose from. But I like it. I like how you went with that, man. That's cool.
Okay, so what's next?
Let's see. So we spent our XP. We need to determine our derived attributes now. So for Yuri here, his wound threshold, because he has a brawn of 4, is going to be equal to 15. Wow, that's pretty good. And his willpower, which is 10 plus his willpower, is going to be 13. And he is going to have a soak. No, his defense right now is going to be 0. Mm-hmm. 0, 0. But his soak is going to be equal to 4. Because I haven't picked any gear yet, but his soak is going to be 4, which is equal to his brawn right now. So that's pretty good. So anytime he's going to take damage, right off the bat, he's going to remove 4 right off the bat because he's so tough.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Brawny. Yeah. Which, thinking of him in the setting as I played him through there and converting him over to this, he could take a hit for sure.
Oh yeah.
How would you have for Ripley there?
Well, again, no defense. I didn't take any talents that give me defense or anything like that. Yep. I did take talents that increase my strain and my wounds. So my wounds are going to be the standard 10 plus my brawn for 12. And then for that first rank in toughened, it increases by 2 more. So my wounds are 14.
All right.
And then my strain is going to be 10 plus my willpower. and my 1 rank of grit. So 10 plus my 3 in willpower is 13, and 1 rank of grit gives me 1 strain. So I have a 14 strain. 14 wounds, 14 strain. Again, I'm back to that well-rounded. And my soak value is equal to my brawn right now. We haven't purchased any gear or anything like that.
Right.
So in this case, it's just a 2.
It's just a 2.
Mm-hmm. She's going to get hurt by something that hits her hard, but hopefully she can just avoid that.
Yep. And I think I might ask my DM here at this point as I'm thinking of my gear, right? Mm-hmm. We start with 500. I started Yuri with a pipe that he made himself with pipe weed, his axe, and a shield. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I do want to tweak this soldier a bit. And maybe I do have, like, what do you call it? What is it? Crafting?
Yeah.
As a skill, instead of, say, one of, like, Brawl or something like that I could put a rank in so that I could say, hey, he's tinkering and stuff. Or I could wait until I play my first session and have that skill there anyways, increasing it, because I can always make a crafting check, mechanics, I guess, if that's what it is, in this setting. Could be crafting, I would think. So that's what I would start off with.
Okay.
So then my gear, so my 500.
Wait.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you're skipping the motivations.
Oh, what am I talking about? Yeah, motivation. Oh, determined motivation. Yeah, we got to do motivations, don't we?
Yeah, buddy.
All right, so Yuri's desire. I don't even have to roll. Yuri's desire is fame.
Okay.
That's all there is to it. I mean, normally I like to roll on tables like these, but because I know, because I've already played Yuri, I played him for 13 sessions, I really have a good feel for him here. So his desire is fame. His fear. What do we have for that list? So fame, he seeks the limelight. He wants to be famous. He wants people to like him and love him. And, in Sandpoint, they kind of do, which is pretty cool. Let's see here. I think his biggest fear is letting down his friends.
Okay.
Which could potentially be...
humiliation?
Well, humiliation, how others... Not necessarily... I think maybe failure. Like, if he fails to protect them. You know what I mean? I think that's his biggest fear, would be letting, what do you call it? Walter die, which Walter almost did. His little halfling buddy almost did in that one of those last battles. And I'm going with failure there, because that would be ultimate. He doesn't fear death. He welcomes it.
That makes sense.
There was a quote. Oh my gosh. There was a quote from, what is it? Farscape. You ever watch that show?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that quote that what's his name meant, the warrior guy made about fear?
No, not off the top of my head.
I'll look it up. We'll be after our next break or pause. I'll have it ready for us in a little bit. All right. So let me see. So then his biggest strength. Let's see. Strength for Yuri here. Oh, that's easy. He's courageous. he just doesn't. Fear has no place in his heart. I don't know. I don't have any ranks of discipline, but it just doesn't matter. He has a high enough willpower that is, yeah. He doesn't fear much at all. Nice. All right, now his flaw, which could be courageous as well. His courage too. Let's see here. Example. Oh, that's easy. Compulsion. We're going to say addiction.
Smoking. Alcohol.
Ale and smokes. Ale and pipes.
Yeah, basically. Didn't Yuri go through an entire fight drunk?
Yeah, pretty much. He sure did. He's not greedy. He's not prideful. He's not... gosh, he's almost reckless too, man.
You could cover all of that with recklessness.
I think so. You know,
The ability to get drunk and go into a fight, or in this case, go off tromping into the woods.
You know, but the thing is, your character shows little regard for how their actions may affect himself or others. Lack of forethought. Well, especially prone to dangerous or inconsiderate actions. Dude, I could go either way. You think recklessness?
I think reckless. You would just drop the inconsiderate part and the concern for others. He's definitely concerned
reckless.
for.
He's definitely reckless.
Others.
I didn't read the whole.
It's all self-recklessness.
Yeah, pretty much. And by the way, if any of you start watching the live plays and would like to let me know whether reckless or compulsion would be good for Yuri, let me know. All right. So what do you got for Ripley here, man?
Well, I went through again because it's a character we know. I went through and picked them. I hand-picked them instead of rolling them.
Yep.
And so for her number one desire, it was a tough one, but I went with justice. Yep. Ripley is a by-the-book kind of gal. Mm-hmm. She wants her due. She thinks that people have there's a right, there's a wrong, there's what you deserve and what you don't deserve, and the people who do wrong should get what they deserve, and the people who do good and are hardworking should get what they deserve.
I like
it. So that's her thing.
Yep.
Her number one fear. This one was hard. This one kind of, I was like, well, her big fear is not being able to answer to that promise to her daughter to head home for her 11th birthday. So I put failure.
Okay.
And that's failure as a mother. Mm-hmm. That's her biggest fear. Even through the whole series, failing Newt, when she adopts Newt later, it becomes a thing that she will not do, so on and so forth. So I put failure. Failure as a mother.
Okay. I could even see Nemesis.
Yeah, later on that, and that's one thing that we didn't discuss. These can change.
Yep, they can definitely. That would definitely evolve over time, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, these can change. If you make your character and your motivations are one thing, but through play you've determined that your character is doing something different, feel free to change it. Of course, ask your GM first, but yeah, in this case, her biggest fear, number one, was failure as a mother.
Yep.
But then it might have kind of changed to the nemesis of the aliens getting back to Earth.
and fighting the queen bitch of the aliens there in the Aliens movie, right?
Right.
And I could also see Yuri going from that of compulsion evolving to a more recklessness. Yep. So towards the end, yeah, I see. Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
So for her strength, this one was easy. The very one at the top, adaptable.
Oh yeah.
Ripley's biggest strength is her ability to adapt and survive any situation. And then
totally.
Yep, that one was easy. And then the last one, that one was kind of hard too. But I kind of, her flaw is her temper. Ripley has a tendency to let her temper get the best of her. She can get angry at a moment's notice, and she might confront things that are beyond her capabilities initially because she's pissed off.
Yeah.
So
you're going with the anger there, huh? That
anger.
First one?
Yep.
Nice. I like that.
And so then here is where we start getting into gear. Now, my gear, I'm going to go ahead and start with this. My gear is going to be easy. My gear is going to be determined in a horror setting. I'm not going to have much. I'm not going to get the 500 currency because my gear is whatever I can scrounge on the ship throughout.
I see that. Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to start with the clothing on my back and whatever I can scrounge throughout the ship. So all I have for gear is a flight suit, which I put down as having a soak of 1. And so that increased my soak to 3.
Cool.
And that's it for my gear. Now, later on, I can salvage things, pick up, say, a flamethrower or, second movie, maybe a pulse rifle or 2. Yeah. But I don't start with any gear, not in a horror setting.
Nice. So let's see. So my gear for Yuri, he has his Dwarven War Axe. Now I see an axe and I see a Great Axe. And I'm leaning towards this Great Axe, but it's going to be a Dwarven War Axe. So I don't like the whole... I think the +4 damage on it, I think we could reduce that to a +3 when it's one-handed, and +4 when I'm wielding it with two hands.
Where's this axe at you're seeing?
This axe that I'm looking at, I am on table 1-1 in the settings, the fantasy settings on page 144.
Aha.
So I didn't go with like the standard. They didn't really have anything, a knife or whatever. So I went to the fantasy Tiernoth setting in the settings part of the book. Thanks for asking me. Let me know that, dude, so people can follow along. So I'm looking at this and, maybe working it with my GM. We can do a +3 when he's wielding it with one hand, +4 when he's wielding it with two hands, and cranking that pierced value down to a 1. And then lightening up the price a little bit to maybe $250 instead of maybe a full $300, something like that. And then the shield, he does an action shield style, so he'll pick one of those up for $80. So he's up a little over $300, $350 right now, or $330.
$330. Yeah.
$330. And for his armor, I would probably want to do something a little more significant than leather, but that's all I can afford right now and what's kind of available, somewhere between leather and chainmail. But I'm thinking I can call it scale mail and give it pay 100 for it and do a soak 1 and call it a day. Maybe make it a cumbrance 3. Maybe give it a defense 1 as well, and soak 1. That might be reasonable. I don't know, but that gets in a little more expensive, such. But I think just keeping it where it's at, maybe for 100 gold pieces, he'll do a soak of 1 on like a suit of scale mail with a 3 encumbrance. Okay. And then I'll just say, he's probably got just random gear worth under 50 gold.
And that's where your grappling hook and your rope and your rations and your backpack and shit like that comes in.
He would like to have. I'd probably spend a good 50 gold on his carving tools for his pipe tools.
Oh.
So I know there's thieves' tools in here, but I'm thinking like whenever he's crafting his pipes, he has a set of tools that he uses, which will give him a boost die to that skill check. Maybe for 50 gold.
Okay.
Something along those lines. So that's definitely under his 500.
I don't think you're a little over, but okay.
Oh, am I a little over?
Maybe.
Or we'll go a little under. It doesn't matter. So something along those lines, but we'll work it out. All that stuff we could work out.
Yeah, and that's all going to be set. You're going to have... because there isn't a lot of gear in the core Genesis book. Yeah. So your GM is going to have to work with you on prices on things and make a price list for you. Yeah. And when you're choosing things like scale mail that's not on the list, maybe the price wasn't 100 gold. Maybe the price, since you're only making it like leather armor,
maybe it is leather.
Maybe it's only the cost of leather armor. It's the same price. It's just scales instead.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, of course, you'd be under your 500 cap.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Sweet. And then, so we've chosen our gear. Now we have like our appearance and our personality. For Yuri's appearance, he's very proud of his beard. He's got a long red beard. He wears a helm. His name is Yuri Warhelm. So he's got on the top of his helm kind of a little thing that kind of looks like a W, actually. Typical dwarf, gruff dwarf. And his personality there, his answers to those questions, what does he love, what does he hate, and why is he here? What he loves is he loves alcohol and pipe smoking after a battle. And what he hates are the orcs and giants or whatever that he has been fighting all of his life, and then why he was there. He's there to get famous, make some gold, and open up a pipe shop overlooking the coast and sand points.
Okay.
So, that's him. That's Yuri.
And as far as personality, we all know who Ripley is, so I don't really have to describe her personality to you.
Right.
Her looks, obviously, she's female. She's in her late 20s in the first film, early 30s.
She looks a lot like Sigourney Weaver, by the way.
Yeah, who happens to be 6 feet tall. And so she's 6 feet tall, slender build, curly black hair.
There you go. Perfect.
And that's pretty much the characters rounded out without any XP. But as we spoke earlier, these are both established characters.
True.
So before we get onto the using them when we're going to use them later, we probably should spend that XP.
Let's spend it.
Okay, so what did we agree on? 50 or 100?
I don't know. How many do you want to do? How many earned XP do we want to do?
I think 50 is fine. I think any more than that, we're going to get a little complicated.
Right. That's true. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, how would Yuri spend his XP?
How would he spend his XP? Well,
he's got no talents, buddy.
I know, he doesn't have any talents. So he needs to spend some talents. He's going to be spending this on some talents.
Now, your GM made up a talent for you guys, did he not?
He did. He made up something called the long and the short of it. Now, there was a female paladin that Yuri and her we fought with her behind Yuri, poking bad guys over his head. And we did
with her pole arm, right?
With her pole arm. Yep, with her pole arm. So we had we called it the long and the short of it. And that basically gave Yuri a +1 to his armor class. And it gave her a +1 to hit. So how would I translate that from a D Shift 7D to a Genesis game? What would we think?
Well, with the short of it,
Yuri would be the short of it.
You wouldn't have to worry about the long of it. That's her end. As a GM, if it's a tier 1 talent, let her add a couple boost die to her attack roll. Or
maybe a boost die to her attack roll, and maybe
or a single boost die.
Right, or maybe, and then with Yuri being on the short of it, maybe he has a +1 defense, melee defense.
That would give his opponents a setback die aiming at him, and that makes sense.
All right, so let's do that. So we thinking that's a first level?
I think you guys bought it very low in the game. I think you guys.
So.
So I would say, it's a tier 1 talent.
Yeah, dude, we're doing a short of it. That's right. +1 defense.
Melee defense.
That's right. +1 melee defense. All right. Now I need another one, and I'm looking at this durable talent. That looks.
I knew that was coming.
I like durable. I also like that tier 1 talent called toughened. Is it toughened? Is that what
it is? Toughened.
+2 wounds.
Yep. I took it, so it's toughened.
So, and then let's see, what do we have for second? Well, what do we have for like a second tier?
Well, there's coordinated assault.
Gosh, I like coordinated assault. I do like though. I do like Lucky Strike.
Yeah, that one's not bad.
To add a damage equal to your character ranks and a characteristic to one of his combat, because he does have those Lucky Strikes, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, we'll do that. Tier 2 Lucky Strike. What am I at right now? We're at.
You've spent 15, 20 of your 50.
15, 25. 25 so far. Let's see if there's another 2.
I only got.
So I got
20.
I got 3. So I got the short of it at tier 1, durable at tier 1, toughened at tier 1. That's 15.
I forgot durable.
Yep.
My bad.
Then Lucky Strike.
Okay, 25. So you're halfway there.
I am halfway there. Let's see. I'm liking sidestep too. Well, no, that's ranging. Oh, what was that one where you can dodge melee defensive stance? Upgrade difficulty of all melee combat checks. That's another tier 2.
There you go.
Tier 2.
So that's 10 more. We're at 35.
Defensive
Now,
stance.
you can't buy any more tier 2s, but you could buy a tier 3 talent.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, dude.
And
What do we have for? What do you see for tier 3 for him? Because that's 15, and that will pretty much spend all 50, won't it? For me. Now, don't have an animal companion unless we call. No, we wouldn't call Walter an animal companion.
I don't see anything that fits you. Maybe you ought to spend the rest in skills. Maybe raising that melee heavy to a 2nd rank.
Ooh, that's actually pretty good. That'd actually be pretty nice. Melee,
And then,
melee heavy to a 2nd, and then we have so that would leave him with 5
XP. You could save it, or you could buy a rank in one of your career skills.
Yeah, I'd probably have at this point. I'd probably put it in ranged because remember that sniper shot he made towards the end of the campaign.
Yeah,
There we go. We'll do a ranged. Cool. Rank 2. Yeah, so that's. I'm liking this. I'm liking this character now. Watch out, Jamie. We gotta play. We're gonna play some more, dude. So that's Yuri. That is Yuri there, all leveled up, all advanced. All right. What do we got for Ripley?
Oh well, she's a skill hound, and I bought most of my talents already.
Oh, true.
So I'm gonna go ahead and spend 10 XP to raise her discipline to a 2nd rank. I'm gonna spend 10 XP to raise her coercion to a 2nd rank because I like to use those 2 skills a lot.
There you go.
So that's 20 of my 50. And then for my 3rd one, I'm going to spend. It's tough. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy a talent. I'm going to go actually buy a talent. I wanted to have that 2nd rank or 2nd tier knack for it.
Oh, yes.
So 10 XP for a 2nd tier, 2nd rank in knack for it.
Nice.
And that allows me to choose 2 more skills that I have the knack for. And I'd already chosen piloting, so I'm going to choose coercion and discipline, both. Nice. So fear is not going to be something that will keep me down.
No, as seen in the movies.
Yeah.
Right?
And then, so she's going to need like a couple more rounded out skills. And at this point, let's see, I've spent 30. Actually, you know what? She's going to go ahead and spend 10 more and raise her piloting to the 2nd rank. So now all the skills that she has the knack for it in are all 2 yellow, 1 green pools.
Nice.
And then her last 10 XP I'll round out by taking astrocartography and computers class skills. So that's it.
Yeah, man. I like that. Sounds good, man.
All right.
So yeah, so there is Yuri Warhelm and Ripley. Ellen Ripley.
Yeah, if you have any questions about character creation out there, feel free, hit us up. We might have missed something. We're not experts at this. We're kind of bumbling our way through a little bit at a time.
Yeah, just email us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com or drop us a line on our Facebook page, which we'll be giving more of that at the end too.
Okay. Well, what do you say we get on to the next segment, buddy?
Yeah, dude, let's start. Let's set the tone.
Okay. Okay, welcome to Setting the Tone. This is where Chris and I take the topic for the day, which was character creation. We kind of apply it to our settings that we have. In my case, I am doing Hellgate Genesis, and Chris has done Primeval Thule. So for me, for Hellgate Genesis, I have done the archetypes. You're pretty much playing humans. So it's just the human archetypes. I have none of my own. I use the ones straight out of the core book. So that's fine. And then I added a step. Before you choose your class, between the time you choose your archetype, and you're going to choose a faction. And there's a reason for that, because the faction gives you, I am using a setting rule in the back of the book for the superhero settings. Nice. I am using a thing called super characteristics. And what super characteristics do is that you have whatever is your super characteristic. If it's strength or agility, intelligence, whatever, when you make a check with one of your super characteristics that generates a triumph, you get to add another yellow die to your pool. Roll in another yellow die. Nice. So in this case with Hellgate, with all the characters are the last survivors of mankind. They're all super heroic. So each of them, in this case, the different factions, there's the three factions. There's the Templar, which are your knights. And so their super characteristic is going to be brawn. The Kabbalists, their super characteristic is presence. The Kabbalists are your wizards and people like that. And then the Hunters, which are your government types, their super characteristic is going to be cunning. So, cool. And then the next step, when you choose your class, you get your career skills, and in each class you also get a second super characteristic. So in this case, for the what did I have? I lost my note here. Oh, here it is. For the Guardian and the Blade Master, just as an example, those are the two classes that are in the Templar. The Guardian gets willpower, and the Blade Master gets agility. So that kind of sets your what's going to be your super characteristics are going to set your tone for what your character is going to be really good at.
Nice.
And then the last thing I did is I'm borrowing a mechanic from the Star Wars system, and that is duty from Age of Rebellion. This way, because there is no real system of buying things in the Hellgate universe. You just basically, the more you earn rank in your faction, the better gear you get and the better upgrades you can get. So in this case, instead of having a monetary system, we have a duty system where every character begins at 20 duty, and the duty determines what starting gear they can have. And then as their duty goes up, that increases the type of gear that they can have, that they can requisition from their faction, so to speak. So with that, so if you're pulling it from the Star Wars system, are you allowing them to start their that 20 duty lower to get more experience points and such? How they're doing it? Oh, okay, cool. The same way that they would set back, they would give themselves basically a setback on their starting gear that way. But if they wanted to have lesser gear to be able to have a little more XP to maybe spend on talents or on skills, they could do so. And the way that works is you can buy it down by 5 to gain 5 XP, or you can buy it down by 10 to gain 10 XP to spend at character creation. Nice. And that's pretty much all I've done that's different for Hellgate. Everything else is pretty much by the book. Nice. Sounds cool, dude. Can't wait to play in it when you're done. All right, so my setting that I've been converting is Primeval Thule. And where I'm at there was, there are Thulian races. It's a fantasy setting. So we have Thulian elves, Thulian dwarves, humans, and Thulian halflings. So created those. And then there's the Atlanteans as well. So those are races that I've added. Got
I've added some careers there as well. Taken some from the Genesis book, core book, and then added a few of my own. But what I've also added to this step, when you're picking your careers, you pick your career, you pick your skills, you're also going to roll a literacy. You're going to make a literacy check. It's going to be an intelligence check based on, and the difficulty is going to be based on whatever career you select. Because in Thule, not everybody can read. So that'll be kind of, that's kind of pretty cool. So then after you, after you you select a career, roll your literacy, then before you invest experience points, you're going to choose what's called a narrative. And think of these, if anybody's played the 5th edition D-Shift 7D game, these are like backgrounds for that. And typically, each one of these narratives will give you a starting benefit at character creation. And we'll go into one of these. Let me see. I'll say the Bearer of the Black Book. One of them. So at character creation, you'll get what's called Arcane Familiarity, and you can add a boost die to all your Arcana checks, and it becomes a career skill for you. And if it's already a career skill, you get one free rank in that as well. Then there's something called an Eldritch Power, which is another power that you get. And once per session, if you're connected to the Black Book, you can generate one automatic success and one automatic advantage on an Arcana skill check. And then once you hit a couple, I created something called a milestone. So milestone 1, milestone 2. If you hit, say, 100 earned XP, you get another thing. 200 XP, you'll get another milestone power. So at milestone 1, for the protector of the Black Book, it got hidden insight. Always reduce the difficulty of the dispel spell by one rank. So there's that. So those are narratives. And then I tweaked the skill list as well. I think some of you may have seen me post out on the Genesys forums about some of that, and added talents. I think I pulled about 50 talents from Star Wars and from our conversion document that I had done before for Star Wars into this. And then during the spending your XP phase, I've added something that was inspired by another game I've played called Savage Worlds. They're called Merits and Flaws, but here we're calling them Merits and Hindrances. So they are merits. You can spend 5 XP or 10 XP for a minor or a major one, or you can gain a hindrance and get 5 XP or 10 XP. And here I think I've limited to like maybe 20 experience points worth of flaws you can get. And let me find a couple of examples for there. So for a merit, say you have ambidextrous. It's a minor one, costs you 4 XP. Equally adept at either hand. Add a boost die to when taking an action with both hands, like 2-weapon fighting. And it's also extremely helpful should you lose a hand, because you could use either hand if you do that. And then there's one of the hindrances I've got is frail. It's a major hindrance. Amazingly weak constitution. You add a setback die to all resilience check and plus 10% to all critical hit rolls. It's as if you've always you've got this agonizing, you're just frail. You're just easier to crit and do more damage to.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I think I lowered the starting gold to like 100 gold because I tweaked the, the equipment charts. And then I'm probably going to be posting this player's guide later on this week in the Genesys forums for people to look at and criticize and such. So keep an eye out for that. And nice. By the way, I found that quote.
Oh.
From Farscape. So D'Argo and Crichton were kind of in a hangar bay, or they're doing something. We're talking about fear, and D'Argo says, "Fear accompanies the possibility of death. Calm shepherds its certainty. Oh, I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a cool quote. Anyways.
Well, that's cool, Chris. And again, you have pretty much finished your Primeval Fool document. I, however, am about a third of the way through my Hellgate Genesis conversion document, and maybe sometime in 2018 people might see it.
Yeah, this is just going to be the player's guide. I'm going to have like a GM's guide that I'm still working on the bestiary and stuff in there too, converting all that. But yeah, but for the player side, pretty much done.
Awesome. Well,
sweet.
That pretty much does it for setting the tone. You want to go on to everybody's favorite section?
Oh yeah, on to Advantageous Threats here. All right, everybody, welcome to Advantageous Threats, our favorite segment of the show, because we get to, play the game, if you will.
Get to roll some dice, dude.
We get to roll some dice, dude. All right, so my scenario is going to be a scenario. I can't remember what episode number it was, but yes, it is Yuri doing something crazy. Let me set it up for you real quick. So we're coming into this, we're down in a dungeon, it's a little bit dark. Erica, the female paladin, is down there engaging in one of these sin spawns, and Yuri's going, and there's a 10-foot drop off this platform, and he just runs straight towards her, trying to jump off this platform with his axe, leading with his axe. So let's do it. Let's build up that pool, yo. So I'm thinking.
Wait. What happened to Yuri in that? You didn't go any. Because this might come out a little differently than the way.
It might come out. Okay, so how it came out, not to spoil anything, but yes, to spoil something. I rolled a nat 1. Yuri slipped, did a face plant on the floor, and his axe landed straight in his back. People call him Sharkfin now. He took like probably 12 points of damage, and granted, he's only second, third level, so it was like half his hit points. And then Walter is there trying to pull the axe out. Actually, he tried to pour, a healing potion on him, and he didn't. He looks up and he's like, "Do I drink it or what?" He's asking if he drank the healing potion. Do I drink it?
Touch him?
Touch him? Do I drink him and touch him? What do I do? Do I pour it on him? So it's
one of the funnier moments in that live play, for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. So, if we were playing it in Genesis, Tony,
okay,
what do I have to do here? Now, I know, I made I was making like an athletics check in that thing, and we were just gonna kind of have that athletics check, and then based on that success, I was gonna do damage with the just kind of make it all in one.
Yep, and you could do the same thing here. You could do an athletics check and make it all in one.
All right, let's do this. So Yuri has a 4 in brawn, one in athletics.
Okay, so you're looking at a.
I'm looking at a yellow, 3 green.
Sounds good.
He is really he's gonna aim, if you will, with his axe to kind of go hit the thing, and he's moving, so he's gonna take some strain, but he's still gonna to aim as he's going. So I'm gonna add a boost die to that.
Okay.
So the difficulty here.
So in this case, you're leaping 10 feet down, but you're leaping over a paladin wielding a polearm.
Or over the ledge, if you will. I've still got to make the railing, I think.
Yeah.
Have to jump off the railing.
So for your short little stubby dwarf legs, I would give that probably a hard difficulty.
Mm-hmm. That's an automatic. That feels like an automatic red, though. Because he's falling, man, into combat.
Yep.
Without even you spending a story point, probably.
Well, in this case, I'd say the easiest way to say it is that the Sin Spawn have Adversary 1.
Perfect. I like that. And I did say that it was dark.
And so we'll it was actually almost pitch black. There was a torch,
That's
but it
true.
was held by Walter, who was kind of hiding, or he dropped it. And
I think he dropped it and hid, and it was there. So I was basically leaping. He was leaping basically in the darkness.
yeah, so that would be 2 setback dice.
That's 2 setback dice. But Yuri, if I remember, he has dark vision, which I get to remove 2 black setback. Ooh, this is looking good for Team Good.
Okay.
I'm thinking you probably want to spend that story point and give me 2 red, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I only got 1 roll to make you make. I might as well have spent my
That's
1
true.
GM story. Oh, now you got me doing it. Damn it.
I'm gonna spend a story point on this. Yeah, tricky, isn't it? I'm gonna spend a story point just because. Well, just because it's a story. It could be quite the story that's coming out of this. And,
It was
and
quite
he's
the cinematic moment there.
It is quite a cinematic moment. All right, so I'm gonna roll this sucker.
So what's your pool finally?
Okay, my pool. I have 2 proficiency dice, yellow dice, 2 green dice, the ability die. I have 1 boost die. I have 2 2 red dice, which is the challenge dice, and 1 purple difficulty die.
Yep.
This seems like a makeable roll, but hey, we'll see. And here we go. We're rolling it.
Please roll 2 despairs so I can put a fin in your back.
Well, that did not come up, actually. I had a lot of blanks, actually.
Oh, wow.
But I have like a couple of misses, 4 hits. So I'm going to succeed 2 successes with 2 advantage. Everything else is black or blank.
Wow. How'd your boost die come out?
Blank.
Okay. All right, so aiming didn't do you a lot of good.
Amy didn't do me much good at all.
And you left me nothing behind to narrate with as GM. So tell me, how does this work out, buddy?
So in a parallel world, Yuri actually succeeds on this. Doing some damage to this sin spawn, taking I'm going to take these 2 advantage and put myself in a situation to give Erica the long and the short of it, man. We're like in position to do our thing.
Nice.
Take this thing down.
So you landed right between it and Erica, and you sink your axe into its left shoulder.
Yep.
And
And
put it on the defensive right away.
Exactly. And this is basically the dream Yuri had later on that night.
If it had only worked the way I wanted it to.
That's what I was dreaming it would be. And this is actually this tale he tells.
Of course. He's bragging in the bar later, right?
That's right. The fish is getting this big. All right. So that was that.
All right. So for mine, I chose, since we advanced Ripley into basically Aliens territory on the second movie for her XP, I went ahead and chose to do that moment in the hive room where she has rescued Newt, and she is trying to intimidate the queen by aiming her flamethrower over the eggs.
Okay.
So she's using coercion, first of all.
Yep. All right.
And I'm figuring she's limping because she's been pretty beat up. So I've got a critical hit that gives me a setback die, at least one.
I like that. I'm thinking this queen. I'm thinking to intimidate this queen. She's so big. I'm thinking it's going to be at least a hard check, maybe even daunting, which is 4, right? You think?
I'll take daunting.
You take daunting 4. And this queen, I'm thinking she's at least adversary 2. Don't you?
Okay.
I mean,
sure.
She's a nemesis. So she's probably adversary 2 there.
All right. So you have already just set up we've already set up just the basic pool, which is my skill of 2 yellow and a green, and then the negative dice are currently 2 red, 2 purple, and a black.
Right.
Now I have my knack for it which allows me to remove up to 2 setback dice from my coercion checks. So I'm going to take that black die out.
Perfect.
Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my once per session talent to flip your story point over to my side so you can't use it.
That's perfect. Feel free.
And then I'm going to use it.
So did I do that wrong? Was I able to use a story point for Yuri in the last one? I forgot how that worked in this system. Can only one side use a story point?
Nope, you can use
any given...
Each can use. You can only use one each.
Gotcha.
But in this case, I took away your ability using my once per session. Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's a good time to use it.
And
because you're threatening me with crap ton of fire. And my babies.
So can I have a boost die for that? Threatening the babies?
Actually, yeah. I mean, I'll even give you 2 because of that what do you call that flamethrower? You've already got some flame coming out of it.
Oh yeah. I've already burned a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So I'm looking at 2 blue, 3 yellow, 2 red, 2 purple dice pool.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so first thing I notice here is that I rolled a lot of threat, but I had a single success, and both of my red, blue dice came up blank.
Okay,
just so. They're the only dice that came up blank.
All right.
So with my single success and my net of 3 threat, what happens there, GM?
Single success and 3 threat. Let's see here. So the way that scene played out in the movie. Well, let's see. So you're threatening her with this. You succeed. First off, you succeed on threatening the queen bitch, right?
So she tells her drones to back off.
Yep, they're all backing off.
Okay,
they're all backing off. But you're shooting the flamethrower out, right? Mm-hmm. But with that 3 threat, it kind of sputters a little bit. Maybe.
Well, she doesn't use it again after that. It could very well be.
Yeah, exactly.
No, she does use it. She does use it. Never mind. I'm thinking wrong.
but it's kind of sputtering a bit.
Okay.
So it might not be quite as effective as she wants, but she did succeed at maybe making a way for her to get out.
Yep. And that kind of is how it played out in the movie until the eggs started opening and all hell broke loose. And then what happened? Ripley's flaw comes into play, and she just unloads on the entire room, and her anger gets the best of her.
Exactly.
All right, that's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Very cool, man.
All right, folks, that's our advantageous threats for today. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. I did.
Yeah, I love these. All right, man. Next, let's close this thing out, man.
Sounds good. All right, folks, so that's our show for today. We have some contact information for you. You can reach us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. Finding the Narrative Podcast on Podbean and iTunes. You can find us there. You can also contact me, and I will forward it on to Chris at the Finding the Narrative Facebook page. And both Chris and I are available also on G+ in the Nerds International with a hyphen.
That's right.
Google Plus community.
And you can find it. We post on the Genesys forums out there as well.
Yeah,
I'm Zesri. Right.
And I am Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And over on G+, there's a bunch of us over there in the Nerds International Network.
Yes, there sure is. I'd like to give a shout out to the murder hobo himself, Gary Wansom Beats McCullum. Love you,
that guy?
Yeah, you big hairy dude. Shared a room with him at Con and the Cobb.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
He took me on some adventures. I drove him around. I picked him up from the airport. I think I kind of scared him when I showed up, being pale white, bald, with all kinds of tattoos.
Good. He's a fine Canadian, though, don't you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's Gary doing over there at the Murder Hobo Show?
I believe he has started a new podcast with Victor Diaz and Frank Turfler called Threats, Treats, and Timers. And it's all about this index cards role-playing game, which I don't know much about. But they just kicked it off. And I think he loves playing with them index cards and RPGing with them. Doesn't he?
Yeah. ICRPG is what it's called, and he does he's done a couple of live plays where he brings people through it on Tabletop Simulator. Cool. And I actually did one of those. I went through his Gartar, played my Sharkman that was wanted to be a porn star, Sharkman mechanic,
nice.
named Gilbert Finkelstein. But you could find Gary at the Murder Hobo Show over at the G Plus Community for Nerds International with a hyphen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
All right. So that pretty much does it for today.
Yes, it does.
I had a great time. This was a good show, Chris.
Oh yeah, man. Me too. Always. Yes, creating characters. Yeah. Sorry that this episode got a little long and kind of out of there for us, but a lot of stuff in here creating the characters, and this is one of the favorite things that I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Mm-hmm. Gives you an idea of the setting and the tone for no matter what game you're playing. It's one of the first things I'll do, even if I'm just going to be GMing it, is I'll sit down and make a character or two just to get a feel for it.
Yeah, and even if you're like at like a game store or whatever, and you're flipping through books, flip to the character sheet and look at the character sheet. You could tell a lot from the system by just looking at the character sheet they have in there. So,
All right.
Excellent.
Well, and until next time, this is Tony saying, keep rolling them bones.
And this is Chris saying, remember the rule of cool and to just have fun, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Finding the Narrative Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative Podcast. Copyright 2018, all rights reserved.